This is a pretty crazy story. This is the story of how I ranked number one above the New York Times on Google within 5 minutes of publishing a blog post while living in Kyiv, Ukraine. That's the story. That's the story that I'm going to be sharing on today's episode of The Edward Show. I'm going to share how I did that. It's a little bit, actually the story of how I did it is also a little bit crazy. And I probably shouldn't. A lot of these stories, a lot of the things that I've done are kind of crazy and probably things that I shouldn't be sharing, but those are the best stories to share. So I share them anyway. And that's what I'm going to be sharing on today's episode. I want to repeat it. I want to repeat it one more time. I like saying it myself. I might even tell it on another episode. I might even tell a story again. It's a good story. The story is I'm living in Kyiv, Ukraine. It's 2020. During lockdowns, I want to rank number one on Google for will distance learning be permanent? I was doing keyword research. I see a lot of people are searching that. We have an education technology product. We have VCs reaching out to us about this product all the time. We have MRR, which was built entirely through my SEO efforts, entirely from me setting up bottom of funnel SEO, search engine optimization for this tool. And we have monthly recurring revenue just from the SEO. And now it's some word of mouth as well. So I want to rank for will distance learning be permanent? I want to show up number one for that. The current number one is the New York Times. The New York Times has a long article about distance learning during lockdowns, a recent article, but it's not targeted specifically for will distance learning be permanent. I think that I can show up number one for this article. I think I can do it. Will distance learning be permanent? And I did it. I did it within 5 minutes of publishing the article, which is unheard of, because normally to show up number one for something, unless you go viral right away, it could take months. And I couldn't believe it when this happened. To this day, I've never seen something like that. The only time I've seen something like that is if something goes viral, then Google will put it number one for its target keyword. If it goes viral, a keyword, if you're listening, you don't know what a keyword is, it's just whatever you search into Google. Will distance learning be permanent? That is a keyword. If you search shoes, that is a keyword. If you search Nike lobsters, that is a keyword. Buy Nike lobsters, that is a keyword. Anything that you could write into Google is a keyword. All right, so I want to rank number one for will distance learning be permanent, but I don't want to write the article myself. I've been doing a lot of writing these bottom of funnel search engine optimization pages to get people using our tool for its various use cases. And I've been writing those, and each page is like 300 to 500 words. But writing this article, that has to be like at least 1,500 words, maybe 2,000 words. And so here is what I do. And this is why I probably shouldn't be sharing it, but I'm going to share it anyway. I've talked about this tool before. It's called Help a Reporter, helpareporter.com. I think that is the URL. It's either helpareporter.com or helpareporterout.com. Search Help a Reporter Out on Google if you want to get the tool. Basically what the tool is, it connects publications with sources. It connects journalists with sources. So journalists will need a source for one of their articles, and then they put up a post on Help a Reporter, and experts, sources, see this post and they're like, well, I want free press. I will give an answer, so I get the free press. I will give an answer to this journalist, so they include me in their story, and then I get free press. It's used for getting backlinks for SEO. It's used for having websites linked to other websites for SEO, but also just for getting brand recognition. If you want to say, like, if you want to appear in top publications around the world, you can use Help a Reporter. Journalists are posting queries, and your name or your brand might be listed in one of these articles, and then you can say, we have appeared in so and so and so. That's its primary use cases. Now, if you post a query, if you post a journalist query as yourself as the founder of the company, less people will respond, less people will take your publication seriously. So if you can only post to it if you have a similar web ranking of under 1 million. That means you're one of the 1 million most popular websites on the internet. So you can only post a question on Help a Reporter as a journalist if you are writing for something that falls under this 1 million number. You can check it on SimilarWeb. You can put in your domain, your URL on SimilarWeb. You can only use it in that regard. And our website, reverb.chat, it still is under 1 million, and it was at the time. It was under 1 million. And I don't want to write this long article for will distance learning be permanent? I don't want to write it. And I know that if I put up a query as myself, as the founder of the company, I will get less replies. So here is what I do. I create a fake editor with an email address that I just created, and then I post the query with that fake editor who is not a real person, which makes us look more authoritative. Let me tell you something else. I shouldn't be sharing this. I have ran tests. And when I was cold emailing people with a fake boy versus a fake girl, the fake girl got more responses. So I deliberately make the fake editor, I make it a woman, and she puts up this question to Help a Reporter, and I get a ton of answers. And then I tell people, I forget exactly how I wrote it, but I say, please write something that is over 1,500 words. And surprisingly, I have a bunch of very good responses. I take my favorite response, I edit it, and it does take me an hour to edit, maybe 45 minutes. 45 minutes to an hour to edit and put up the post. And then I put up the post. And I have a certain way of targeting keywords where basically the gist of it is you use your target keyword in the title of the post, in the first sentence of the post, and in the alt text for the first image of the post. That's where you use your target keyword. And then you want to have a piece of content that's decent, of course. Use H2s, use headings, use images. That's what you want to do. So I have to take someone, because the experts who are submitting entries, they're not professional search engine optimization people like I am. I have to edit those posts. So I do that. And I put up this post, and I expect it, because this is a hot topic, it's during lockdown. So I expect it to maybe show up number 1 on Google within maybe a few weeks. I post it. I submit it to Google Search Console, which submits your post directly to Google's index. If you go to Google Search Console, you should, if you want to have your website show up on Google, you really should be using Google Search Console. It is made by Google. It is a way for you to tell Google about your website and every page on your website. And if you make a new post, if you make a new post, new article, new page, Google may not crawl you immediately. So what you do is whenever you change something on your website or create a new URL, you submit that to Google Search Console. That's what I do. You just submit it. So I submit it. And then within 5 minutes of submitting it, it's showing up number 1 for will distance learning be permanent above the New York Times. I've never seen that. And then it stays there. It just stays there basically throughout all of lockdowns. For a year, it stays there. And now I don't think it ranks for the keyword anymore. I don't think it shows up number 1 for the keyword anymore. And that was so crazy. That was so crazy that we did that. And the content was written for free. The person benefited because, we give the person a shout out. We say, this is who the person is. It's their company. Let me tell you what's so crazy about this. Then we join an education technology accelerator, and the woman who wrote that article through Help a Reporter Out was in this accelerator, and her and I became friends. And I told her about this, and she was actually really happy because her article was outranking the New York Times and showing up number 1 for this very popular hot keyword. So she was excited about that. We were excited about that. It was a total win-win. Total win-win. To make it show up number 1, we didn't do anything crazy. Literally, all I did was target this keyword, this specific phrasing of this question that nobody else was targeting. I just targeted this specific phrasing of the question, and the specific phrasing is, will distance learning be permanent? I target it directly. We have a decent site, a decently authoritative site, because we have a bunch of users, which many of whom are coming from SEO, by the way. We have a bunch of users, so I think we have a high quality score. We also have like a good blog that I set up, but our domain authority isn't crazy. On a scale of 0 to 100, our domain authority at the time was maybe around 30, and we show up number 1 for this keyword, and it brought us a lot of traffic. So that's the story. This was during lockdowns. I spent my lockdowns while living in Ukraine. Actually, I lived in Kyiv for 2 years, and it was great. I tell this story sometimes. I was living in this mansion apartment with 3 balconies, incredible apartment, so big, and I would get such fresh food from the babushka gardens. I would go to the farmers markets were closed, but I was still getting there was amazing foods in supermarkets, and it was just cooking all the time and doing SEO. And I was so fortunate to have that time. I was just literally spending all of my time cooking and doing search engine optimization and working on our project Reverb. And anyway, so that's the story of how I ranked number 1 above the New York Times with under 5 minutes of publishing the article back in 2020 while living in Kyiv, Ukraine. I hope you enjoyed this story. I hope it brings some value. Woo! It was good. I'm glad I got to share that. I'm sure I'll get to share it again. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to all of you again tomorrow. Bye now.